Today I have hands-on Christopher Ward's latest major release. They've already come out with a couple of new watches this year. They came out with some 44mm versions of their very popular watches. However, this is an all-new watch from Christopher Ward in collaboration with Pan Am. This is the C60 Clipper GMT, and it is chock full of nostalgia. I grew up in New York. I am very familiar with Pan Am, seeing the Pan Am building on a regular basis, and I had family members who actually worked at Pan Am. So this watch means a lot to me, and I'm very excited to show you guys. So let's flip the camera and take a look at Christopher Ward's latest collaboration, the C60 Clipper GMT Pan Am. I have a lot of little knickknacks on my table here. And from time to time, I use this little knickknack right there, which is a Pan Am sewing kit. And I got that from my grandmother, who worked for Pan Am for a very short period of time. She wasn't a stewardess or anything like that. I think she was here in New York in JFK. I think it was called Idlewild back then, before it was JFK. She died, I think it was around 9 years ago, at around 100 years old. So she's been around for a while. She was around for a very long time. She did a lot of cool things, and one of them was working for Pan Am. This is a Pan Am collaboration with Christopher Ward. It kind of makes sense. This is called the C60 Clipper GMT. It's a limited edition of 707 pieces. 707 pieces because the first commercial airline to operate a jet-powered transatlantic service flight flying from, back then, Idlewild, not JFK, to Paris was Pan Am, and the plane that they did it with was a Boeing 707. Makes a lot of sense that this is limited to 707 pieces. When Pan Am was in operation, it was the golden age of flight. You see those pictures, those old black and white photos, sometimes they were color, of people sitting on an airplane dressed in suits. People used to wear suits and actually get dressed up for a flight because it was an occasion. It was something very special. It was really expensive. It wasn't something that you got to do very often. So Pan Am, when you see photos of flights, there's just a bunch of people who look like they're going out to a beautiful dinner. No, it's a flight. Now you get on a flight, you're wearing sweatpants, shorts, t-shirts, whatever it is. It's a very casual experience. It's something very everyday. Back then it wasn't. It was something very special. So we're going to start with the bezel. This is a bi-directional aluminum bezel, which is not typical for Christopher Ward. So I do want to mention that this is aluminum because most Christopher Wards are not made out of aluminum. They are made out of ceramic. So this gets an aluminum bezel. I think they did that because, again, this is vintage inspired, although very modern, and also very modern looking. They went with something that is a little bit more vintage inspired. This gets a world time bezel. However, they are using airport codes on the bezel. And it's bi-directional, like I mentioned, and I believe it is 24 click. Yeah, so it's a 24 click bi-directional bezel. You get a sapphire crystal applied indices. Those are filled with old radium lume, and it's just a little bit creamy, so it's not a very dark old radium. It's sort of a lighter old radium, if that makes sense. You have a chapter ring that's 24 hours. It's in two different colors, red and blue, and white for the indices. So this is red, white, and blue theme. That is their colors, and obviously an American company, so kind of also makes sense. The hands are kind of cool. So the counterbalance on the second hand, instead of having a trident, you have a 707, which looks really good. And then the GMT hand is in Pan Am blue. You have Christopher Ward hands. Those are also filled with that same colored lume. The GMT hand is filled with that same colored lume. The dial is a white dial. You have their Christopher Ward logo, that multi-piece logo at the 12 o'clock or right below the 12 o'clock, right above the 6 o'clock, which is the date. You have Pan Am, and then right below that it says automatic because this is an automatic. It gets a Sellita SW330, so a higher end movement inside this watch because it is the Sellita SW300 series. It's thinner and slightly more higher end. It gets 56 hours of power reserve, I believe, and is a pretty good looking movement. However, you cannot see it through the case back because you do get a custom case back with the Pan Am logo, and it is very deeply etched into that case back, screwed in case back, which looks fantastic. The date does have a little bit of a secret as well. 26 is in Pan Am blue because commemorates the date October 26th, that flight from JFK to Paris. This essentially is a 42 millimeter watch. It measures in at around 41 and change, or just under 42 millimeters at that bezel. It wears the same at the case because the case and the bezel are pretty much in line with each other. You do have these little crown guards that protect that very large crown at 6.8 millimeters. The lug to lug on the bracelet is around 54 millimeters, including these male end links. However, if you don't include the bracelet, it comes out to around 48.9 millimeters, so just under 49 millimeters. And then you have a 12.3 millimeter thickness. That's including the slightly raised sapphire crystal on the front. On my wrist, I have one of the best Christopher Wards ever made, in my opinion. It's a skeletonized watch, which I normally don't love, but I think this works so well. It's the original 12X. They've made this for a little while now. I'm not sure if it's a huge seller for them, but it is so cool and such a good looking watch. I love the SH21. It was called the SH21 when it was in this watch. They changed it over to the CW01, I think they call it now, or something like that. That's the movement inside. All in all, just a fantastic watch, really good looking. I love it. And there is the C60 Clipper on my 7.5 inch wrist. Like I said, this is a basic 42 millimeter watch with an around 12, almost 12.5 millimeter thickness, including that sapphire crystal. The lug to lug is around 54 millimeters on the bracelet, so including the bracelet, not including the bracelet, it's under 49 millimeters. I think it wears really well on my 7.5 inch wrist. Christopher Ward have made so many different sizes for even their GMTs now because they're available in 44 millimeters, going down to, I think, around 38 millimeters. I think they offer a 38 millimeter GMT. This sits somewhere in the middle, so 42 millimeters, just under 42 millimeters. I think it wears really well. That's a great size for my wrist. I think this is a really good looking watch. A limited edition of 707 pieces. It comes on this batter bracelet with the on-the-fly micro adjust. They've recently changed that a little bit, so it has a push button on the back, and it's very smooth and really good looking. The batter bracelet is a 3-link bracelet, although a consort bracelet would have looked really cool on here as well. Not sure why they didn't go that route, but I think it would have looked really cool on here as well. They also offer, or this also comes with, a fabric strap. So that is a pass-through strap that is made out of the same material that the seat belts were made out of on Pan Am flights. So I'll throw up a picture of that strap. Pretty cool that they're doing that as well, so you're getting that included in the package. Well, there you go. Lume is, it's a Christopher Ward. It's very good, very liberally applied to the hands and indices. No lume on the second hand. I think that would have been really good if they put a little bit of lume on the second hand. That would have been helpful, but other than that, I have no complaints. The lume is always bright with Christopher Ward. You can see that there is a triangle in the bezel that is also very liberally applied with lume. Price on this is $1,995. That is for the entire package. It comes with special packaging, a special polishing cloth as well, that extra strap, and the bracelet. So you're getting a pretty good package, and it's a limited edition of only 707. Very good looking watch, very cool concept. I really am happy that they did a collaboration with Pan Am. There have been only a very few watch brands to have done it. I think they might be one of the only. There might be one or two other brands that have done it. Growing up in New York, obviously the Pan Am building, the Pan American Hotel in Queens. I grew up very close to that. and Pan Am in general, because I've had family members that worked at Pan Am, has been somewhat part of my life throughout my life. So very nostalgic for me, and something that, is part of watch collecting. The idea of that nostalgia and memories and all of that tied into a watch makes a lot of sense for me. So that's why I think this is pretty cool. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section below. What do you think of this watch? What do you think of the idea of a Pan Am watch that is built on a world timer with the airport codes on the bezel? I think it all works really well, and it's a GMT. They put a lot of thought into it. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. I'll put a link to this watch down in the description below. Definitely check it out if you are interested. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. I will catch you guys in the next.